right, we are live, guys, on the Big Buck Registry Facebook page. And for anybody tuning in, I'm here with Jason Obermiller and Eric Fitzgerald from Rackology. And as you may recognize, that logo on the back there, these two gentlemen were on our show just recently, and they make a pretty unique product. And let's see, remind me, guys, you're Eric, you're an agronomist.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
And
been for the last about 18 years.
Very cool. Very cool. So we may have to get into that again. I did put the link in the top of the notes here so anybody can tune in and listen to the show. And certainly there's a lot of great content there, and we went over a lot of stuff. So we're just going to open up the lines to any questions that people may have. We're going to try to field them for you. And we'd like to get into some of that Rackology stuff that you have in that bag behind you. As you can see, they hauled in it's a 50-pound bag. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yep. 50-pound bag of the Rackology goods. And you have a jar, and we're going to break it all down. And it's kind of interesting. And what I'd like to hear from you guys is kind of how you got started. I know we went over it in the show, but could you just kind of give us a summary of what this stuff is and how you created it?
Go ahead.
Well,
it's Jason's brainchild, so I'll let him explain it at the very beginning here.
Well, it has kind of started back when I was doing my master's in biology, and I was, researching everything about deer antler growth. That was what my study was on, and I kind of went on a kind of adjunct to that with the deer herd health. And, just wanted to find out all the vitamins, all the minerals, everything that deer need. I want to know exactly, because there are so many products on the market. I just was kind of curious as to what I should be feeding. And in fact, when I was kind of done, not that I'm ever done researching, but when I kind of got to that point where I'm like, all right, I want to see what all is out there that has the nutritional value that I was looking for. I just kind of kept coming back to, while some of them might have had decent, mineral, they lacked the vitamin and the protein content. Some of them were all protein and didn't have the vitamins and minerals. And so in order to get what I wanted, I had to buy 2-3 different products. And then they still weren't totally ratioed right, because there's certain minerals that have to have another mineral at a certain ratio in order to be absorbed efficiently. And then to even take it a step further, there's some of those minerals that have to have another mineral and or a type of vitamin present also for it to be absorbed really efficiently. And so it gets really complicated that I'm not going to bore the listeners with, but I just couldn't find anything that stood up to what I was looking for. And so I just started mixing my own stuff in a bucket. And at the time, there's only a few products that I could get that had the vitamins and minerals that are chelated. And that was one of the big things I was looking for too, is the chelation. So mixed it, myself for a year or so. And I just got to the point where I was mixing a bucket here and there for people. And so went to Eric, and, actually my brother's like, he goes, you need to talk to Eric and see about, getting this, this stuff bagged. So I talked to Eric, and he's like, yeah, I can help you with that. We'll get it bagged. And, kind of one thing led to another, then had the ton of it stored here, and I'd come to, pick up a bag or two. And the one time he actually said, well,
it was gone.
It's gone. And at first, I had no intentions of doing anything business-wise with it. That's, I think, one thing everybody needs to realize is this is no intentions of doing a business. It kind of happened. So it was gone. And at first, not that I was upset, but I was kind of like, okay, I didn't really want anybody knowing about this. It's a lot of.
I could tell Jason was getting really protected the first time that I had to break the news to him that he didn't have any bags sitting here. But the person that it went to, I knew was a avid whitetail hunter and was a very ethical hunter and very responsible. And we'd get good good information from him if he liked it. But he had heard that Jason had made this stuff, and that's the reason he came in. It just wasn't some guy off the street goes, hey, I'd heard through the grapevine Jason had kind of bagged some stuff up here. I'd like to try it. And I said, all right, how much? And he got 20 bags. And next thing you know, his friend came and got another 20 bags, and there a ton was gone. Before I knew it, then I had to turn around and tell Jason when he called, says, hey, I'm going to go feed my deer. And I didn't have anything for him. So I said, well, let me make you some more. And I think that was a dumb question, but yeah, it just evolved this way. And, it got around that, people knew that Jason did his homework and studied this. And I guess, being about the time, it was about this time of year, a little later, and guys were starting to feed pretty heavily. So, it took off from there. So yeah, I had to break the news to him that I sold his stuff. And I felt bad because I'm like, oh man, this is something, like Jason said, he kind of felt like that mad scientist over his cauldron of whatever he made, his beaker of this special thing. I don't want anybody else to have it, kind of that jealousy thing. And I'm like, well, what did I do? I probably made him upset. And Jason and I have known each other for quite a few years before this. He's done all my tax return work, taking my money there. But we've been friends for quite a few years, but so at least I was hoping the friendship would stay in me selling out from underneath him, but then it just turned into something like this and something we wanted to pursue. And so that's how I kind of got involved with it, because like Jason said, when he came to me, he says, hey, I need help. I don't want to mix this in a bucket anymore. Is there any way that I can get my blend into a bag that I could just take one bag out or two bags out in the back of my pickup. I don't have to take multiple things that I want in here and waste my time doing it. And we looked at the blend and we went through, the nutritionist that actually just blended it for us and with our recipe, with Jason's recipe, what he wanted. And we're able to get it bagged and stitched and stacked and brought in. So that's kind of how I came into it on just that side. So, and again, gotcha. I had no intentions of going into business with him. I was just trying to help him out. We were friends and I had the means to do it. So.
Very cool. That's a good synopsis of what we talked about the other day. And you can always go and listen to the show on our podcast or listen to our podcast on bigbuckregistry.com/Rackology. And you'll get, I think we talked for an hour and a half or something. We had a lot to talk about. So Jason, your beaker is essentially a 5-gallon bucket, right?
Yep. I hovered over that bucket many hours.
It's a redneck bucket, redneck beaker.
Redneck beaker. I love it. Tell me about and you've used this word on the show too, and I asked you about it, chelation. What does that mean?
It just simply means that those vitamins and minerals are in a form that is the most absorbable possible. So, it doesn't, from the time it enters an animal's digestive system to the time it exits, it just allows for the absorption to be that much more efficient. And so to get it chelated, to me, it was just the no-brainer. It's just like when you go and buy vitamins at the store. If you're taking your normal on-the-shelf vitamins that aren't chelated, you're pushing a lot of them through you, so to speak, and not getting as much out of them as the higher quality vitamins. They're chelated. And anybody in the nutrition industry, what's funny is like on Instagram, I'll put hashtag and nutrition on there, and it's surprising how many people that are into nutrition and lifting and in shape and stuff like that hunt, that are following us, that have made comments that are like, that's the real deal. It's chelated. It's properly formulated. I mean, they see it because that's what they do. They need those type of high quality products. And, this is just the deer version. And
I've been dealing with, livestock for now on a little over 10 years now. We sell a full lineup of livestock feed. And that's why Jason, when we came together, he knew we had a bagging facility. We had the means to get it bagged, get it weighted, all the weights done. And we've been selling feed for over 10 years. And with as much, the ranchers and everything they put into their cattle and the thought of chelation in their cattle and the rate of gain and relative feed value, what they're putting in and what they're getting out. we look at it as, the same thing when they've got the cows and the heifers that are milking and getting ready to calve, and right after calving and weaning, taking the stress off of that. It's weird how, somewhat closely related the ungulates are, like deer and elk are to cattle, and what you could take and what they ingest and what they put out. So, with cattle, you're looking at rate of gain per day, how much that cow is going to grow between now and when you want to sell that cow. You don't want to be too heavy. You don't want to be too light. And the same thing with deer. What we want to do is put on health and help with the immunity of some of the stresses that might happen in the natural world. And then also try to put as much of that matrix into the antler. And so we're looking at putting rate of gain on those antlers and rate of gain on those fawns when they're when the does get done milking and they're starting to get weaned off that fawn, to get that fawn, if it's a buck or a doe, to get that thing going. So that's what the importance of chelation comes in on the cattle side. And when we start talking about it, it was just so important. It had to be done that way. So
yeah, I was pretty adamant. It had to be chelated.
Yep. And when he said we need a chelate, I said, I know exactly. We were on the same page. But he was thinking deer, I was thinking cattle. We just kind of meshed those together.
That makes sense. All right. So, Jason, you had the formula that you were playing with, and Eric, you had a bagging company that you were already using for cattle, and you had some ideas about what you wanted to make, or the chelation was kind of part of your process already. So you kind of came together and made this Rackology product. Very, very cool. You guys have some of it in a jar somewhere in your studio there. Can you hold that up to the camera? I want to see if we can.
Jason was munching on it earlier.
Yeah.
This is kind of, I feel like that movie Second-Handed Lions, like those, I don't know if you've seen that, when those salesmen come to those guys' door having this jar, but it really kind of shows the different things. We have our mineral concentrate there, which is our base mineral.
It's on the bottom.
Okay.
Yep. And then we have it available in the meal form, which is our mineral mixed with our vitamins and with our protein and everything. And then on top, if you guys have auto feeders or want a pelletized feed, we've got it pelleted as well. So we could pelletize it. We've had guys mix the pellet and the meal together for flowability. We've had them, but we tell them that, the flowability we've tested on a lot of different feeders, and the flowability is really good on whatever they want to choose. So the pelletized or the meal. So, yep.
Okay. That was one of the questions that came in from Josh Baker. He wanted to know, will the feed spin out of a feeder?
Yes. Yep. And if they let us know and we have it available pelletized, it will definitely flow through an auto feeder, pelletized. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Good to know.
The mineral probably wouldn't be the best, the meal wouldn't be the best for that. I'd definitely go pellet. Now the aroma between the two are identical. They work pretty dang good.
Okay. Yeah, Josh said we did answer his question. See, Mark Clifford from Premier Outfitters has just joined us. Mark, good to see you. Scott Hodgkins, thanks for joining us. Let's talk about some of the agronomy work that you do. What is that? That's a big word for us simple folk.
Well, no, and it was. Agronomy is, in a sense, trying to take what I've learned and helping out our customers, whether it be farm and row crop, alfalfa, or anything like that. So I've been doing agronomy work for about 18 years. I learned from a couple of my mentors were pretty renowned agronomists in the field, not only locally, statewide, but nationwide. And I really fell in love with agronomy and being out, be the eyes and ears of the farmers or growers out there, whether it be, like I said, corn, soybeans, alfalfa, anything like that. It's definitely one of my passions. And I've always had a green thumb for stuff out in the field. I'm terrible with plants in the house. I'll kill them. I don't know what it is about it, but for some reason, out in the, I was pretty much born and raised with corn and soybean and alfalfa rotation, hay meadows and stuff like that. We started getting into this Rackology. I didn't have anything. I wasn't really too concerned about anything agronomy I could bring into this. And until we started, looking at all the the plots that are available for annual and perennial plots that guys could plant in areas where maybe they can't use, a supplement. So, the last couple months, I've been working with 4 or 5 different guys on building fertility prescriptions, taking soil samples, having them analyzed, nitpicking them, and going through them with a fine-tooth comb, seeing what fertility requirements that they need to perform, or to have the soil perform what they want. A lot of them were monoculture corn soybean plots, and some of them were multiple cultural type of a legume brassica type plot. For the soil samples and the fertility recommendations, we put everything together that they need for this spring, and we also thought ahead for fall what they're going to do. And it's just kind of it's a neat marriage that I didn't think was going to happen between deer supplement and agronomy. So
the kind of crazy thing is go ahead.
It's like a double-edged sword here. You add food plus agronomy and mineral and nutrition. You add all them together, and that's how your healthy herds are built.
Well, and I don't see, also when I went to Eric about the bagging, and we kind of got things started to kind of click a little more. He probably didn't realize at the time that I was also looking at him as, so if you think this is something I should be doing, he's an agronomist. And I'm thinking, okay, got a master's in biology. He's an agronomist. That's like a crazy fit. We've both got a ton of, nutrition research. So between the two of us, we have the nutrition aspect, the biology, the agronomy. And even before we ever came up with our food plot mixes and our fertilizer, that food plot fertilizer that we've got, that's, we can talk about later, I was already kind of thinking about stuff like that. Like, this is stuff that Eric can, that he really is going to know about. I mean, what a better partner to have. Not only is he a good friend, but he's an agronomist, and,
Well, and that's when we start, we've been putting food plots together, depending on what the person wanted. If they just wanted an alfalfa clover mix, just to have maybe they had a big plot that they just wanted to make sure they didn't have to plant it every year. They wanted to get a good stand of alfalfa and a good stand of clover mix, a little bit of, either annual rye or wheat or oats in there to help it come up and help the ground shade a little bit. I've been putting stuff together for over 10 years on just that. And we start thinking, we're like, well, why don't we just, put what we've accomplished into a bag? And that's why I'm really excited that here, really shortly, we're going to have a couple perennials and, a couple annuals and a couple perennial food plot blends through Rackology. That'll be, just a nice fit for all of our customers. They'll be coming in 1 acre and 1/4 acre bags. So the big plot guys, the small plot guys, and then also, we can custom, if a guy knows what he kind of wants in because every geography is different. You get down to Kansas, they like using wheat versus annual ryegrass or oats. You get north of here, you got different planting dates. And so we can custom whatever a guy wants. We can custom blend on a per acre basis their food plot what they want. And it could be anything from bird's foot trefoil to Alsky clover to premium red clover. You name it, we can get our hands on it and get it into a bag for them. But our main 3 food plot blends are going to be pretty much 80% of what guys want to plant, other than the specialized plot. So we're pretty excited about that. And with our fertilizer, our food plot boost fertilizer, there's just some things done in that fertilizer that you won't get just going to your local co-op or your local Tractor Supply or something like that and pick up some yard fertilizer for your food plot. This is going to be specifically for brassicas and legumes, and then with that, with the agronomy side, we're going to have the availability to I worked at an agricultural testing lab when I was going to school, and seeing all the tests that can be run, kind of linking it back to cattle. Guys want to see, okay, they're feeding them a mix of silage, alfalfa, grass, and they want to see what their relative feed value is. We could take, when that plot's growing and we got at least about a foot of growth on it, we could take that, send it into the lab and see what our relative feed value is on all those plots and see what we're doing with our fertilizer, how that's proven that we're going to increase relative feed value or overall volume or quality of that food plot. And also to help the soil health, because a lot of people don't understand that you need to keep soil health up or you're just not going to accomplish what you're going to do, whether it be oxygenating, aerating it, using carbon and humic acids and fulvic acids. It's a fantastic fertilizer that's going to, be great for these small plots. So
kind of the how that came about, that was kind of on my mind about having some sort of a fertilizer because but I didn't know how to put it across to Eric what I was kind of wanting. And so I just kind of kept that in the back of my mind, for the last few months. And I was talking with a outfitter in Illinois, and he's like, well, unfortunately, we can't supplement here. We can't do any of that. He goes, but if you can take your Rackology, he goes, you got everything in one bag, all your vitamins, minerals. But if you can put that into a plant, he says, I'll be interested. And that's kind of when the light bulb went off. And I went to Eric. I'm like, we got to put this on the front burner. And in a very short amount of time, he had it together, not just your normal NPK, but basically everything possible that can take, so that plant can absorb, everything possible out of the soil. Whereas normally without it, plants can only, they'll absorb what they need for growth. But this helps get it so that those plants, especially in their young stage, get the maximum amount of nutrition, not just for the plants, but for the deer. So,
well, in no-till situations, and you gotta keep your soil health up and microbial activity, and microbial activity is going to be huge in the agricultural sector going forward here. It's a slowly adaptive thing because on a large scale farm on 160 acres, it's cost effective right now. It's not quite there, but on these small plots, it's well worth the effort of helping your soil out, and it's very cost effective. So I've been a firm believer in microbial activity and helping microbial health anywhere you can, and so this has got everything in it that will do that. So.
That sounds super interesting. Most time a food plot goes in somewhere that the land's either been farmed before or is in farming now. And if you're working with a piece of property that's been farmed, it has no life.
Yes.
The soil is dead. Farmers pull out the most nutritional value that they can out of that soil. So it's almost like your soil's neutral. So, with what you're saying, putting it all together, you got to go back in and give that soil new life, a new beginning. And that way your plants can really thrive off the nutrition and not only feed themselves, but provide excess nutrition.
Yep. And it doesn't happen overnight, but we're hoping that year after year on those, because those plots usually stay in the same areas. They might change what they plant there, but over time, you can't change pH or organic matter. I mean, it's really tough to change that, but you could start increasing your soil life. Just like you said, I've seen farms where the soil life is, when you can kill that soil life off and the microbials, and what that does, it basically doesn't let your soil break things down to make it available for your plants. And I've seen that happen. I've seen guys just, mine the soil and not put anything back into it. And it just costs them in the long run, and they just don't understand that there's so many living organisms underneath that soil surface. They got to take care of them too.
I told you about the underwear test, didn't I?
Uh-uh.
No, there's.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah,
I get these science journals, obviously, and I'm not sure exactly which one the article was in, but it talked about healthy soils, and they wanted to see if crop fields that were disked up and tilled every year and planted, and then next year disked and tilled and planted, how they compared to less tillage, and then also compared to no-till crop fields. And so what they did is they took some whitey tidies, cotton underwear, and they buried them at different places in these fields and just had the elastic bands sticking out.
Yep.
So months later, they go back to these fields, and the field that was tilled every year, they pulled the underwear out, and pretty much everything was intact.
It looked like the pair that Jason has on now. I think probably right now.
Yeah, because I'm nervous.
Yeah.
They went to the other field that had some tillage but not a ton, and you could tell that the shorts were starting to kind of they had holes in them and stuff. And then they went to the no-till field, and this is where it was crazy. Like literally, it was the elastic band was left, but hardly any of the underwear was left. It had decomposed in that short amount of time. And that just, those type of soils where nutrients can enter it and be broken down for that plant to absorb, your plants coming off, they're going to have more new nutrition value than, where they're constantly tilled. But, and as a science teacher, I talk about this with my students, and I've got a lot of farm kids in there. And I think sometimes they look at me and they think I'm a tree hugger or something, because I'm trying to tell them about no-till and stuff, which some of the farmers around here are doing it. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I kind of get that look like, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. But
yeah, the no-till and the cover crop thing's finally taken hold up here, which is nice to see, because cover crops are a lot like food plots, but just on a larger scale. Few less ingredients and seed that are in there, but that's helping these soils out a lot. So.
Yeah, this, on experiences we've had here, that's about a 5-year program to get your soil back into an active state of mind through a cover crop. And that's no different.
Sterilized it.
Yeah, you're right on. That's exactly right.
All right. So, everything we're talking about is a long-term effect. It don't happen one season to the next. You're going to see some improvements season to season, but before you see the real deal results, you're looking at a 5-year program.
And that's what we're talking, even with Rackology. I mean, it's people expect to feed something and then have a huge deer the next year. You got to feed this stuff and be diligent about it. You're going to start reaping your reward, the benefits. After that 3rd, 4th, 5th year, you get them deer up there, and you get that the protein and the vitamins and minerals to them. So not only with the soils and but it's also with the actual feeding. Mm-hmm. It takes due diligence to make it what you want it to do.
And what's crazy, if you do it, and if anything, requires full commitment. You don't go and if you lift weights once a month, obviously you're not going to see a whole lot of from it. But the crazy thing is, just from a lot of the customers that we have that are implementing this as a full program, what we're doing, they've got. You look at game camera pictures of their deer, and I know everybody's looking for big racks, but my focus when I first started this was I was looking at the does, because I knew if you had a total herd health, antlers are just going to be a given, right? And so, these critters that were on this stuff during conception, in fact, even go back further, their does and bucks were on this, so they're super healthy when they conceived. The fawns were gestated on it, born on it, milked on it. On our control groups where you don't put anything out at all compared to our Rackology groups, it's just crazy to see the difference in the doe health and the fawn health, how sleek they look. Your does in July on the control, they look milked out. You can see ribs and stuff. They just, look like what normally used to look like. Yeah, because all the stresses of nature, and now those look like they don't have fawns on them, and the fawns look, far superior to the ones on our control group. And, not only that, besides just the vitamins and minerals and protein, we've got some other additives in there that help with the microbial flora in their gut, helps them to digest even more efficiently. So if you think chelation is efficient, you add this to it, and you got about another 30% increase in absorption rate. Helps with bad microbes to help prevent the deer from having issues. It kind of goes along, people have heard of prebiotics and probiotics. It's kind of along those lines. So it's, and I told Eric when we started mixing this stuff really thoroughly out of the bucket, I said, I don't want to spare any expense, because this was for me. And that's something that we've wanted to continue on, keeping the price as low as possible, and having the absolute best product. And no matter what it is that we're making, I want it to be, the top of the line.
Absolutely. Another thing, just real quick, cover on food plots. A lot of people say, "Oh, I got to put X amount of dollars in this thing every year continuously," and I say, "Yeah, to get it started, it's going to cost you quite a bit. But once you get to that plateau and that level platform, that flat lines, there's going to be a couple years there after you pull a soil sample that you're going to be dead on. You're going to be right where you need to be, and it's not going to cost you a dime. So it all levels out in the end. There's going to be a few years that cost you, and it's going to return itself once you get it correct."
That's exactly right. And that's what we preach and preach. And even on the fertility on these bigger fields, on the row crop stuff, is you get that stuff off, and then you just go off of crop removal. And a lot of times on the food plots, you're going to have enough breakdown of the brassicas and the root systems that you're going to, like our brassica mix, when it breaks down and it frosts finally after about the fourth frost, when it finally dies, and then that next summer, when that stuff breaks down, you got a lot of available nitrogen that's naturally put into that soil. And so our plan is, we want to spend our customers' money wisely and get them to that area. There are some fields that might take just a couple of years. There might be some fields because, guys pick some food plot areas that are back in the sticks sometimes, and they go through that land shock if you tear them up. Like you said, the first 2 years, they're going to have to, it might seem like they're spending a lot, but then at the third and fourth year, it's going to come just like getting back on a bicycle. It's going to be easy. Knowing how to plan it and knowing what they've got there, and knowing that they don't have to have as much money in the fertility because their soils are working for them. And it's going to be broadcast and harrow it in, and you're going to have a heck of a food plot.
Well, and you can tell too, like, just go ahead if you were going to say something.
Oh, I'm good. I'm just listening in and just agreeing with what he's saying.
Well,
I'll hit him if he butts in on you anymore. So he'll probably hit me. I butt on him and on him more than he probably does on me. So.
Yeah, we can have a conversation because we're both talking at the same time. But the thing, one of the things I put on our Rackology Instagram here about 2 weeks ago, I was working in my taxidermy shop, and as a taxidermist, I see a lot of antlers come through every year. And the thing that really verifies what we're doing is when you look at all these antlers that have came through, and I know the people, I know what they're feeding, because we talk, they trust me because I'm not going to give out their secret spots. And the guys that are feeding like only protein, because remember, it's a whole overall deal. It's not just you just feed one thing, right? So they're feeding only protein. One of the biggest things I notice with them is they put on the protein matrix, because antlers, it's like the protein is the scaffolding, and then as they begin to harden, the body starts pulling the minerals from the skeleton, in a sense is, cementing them on. Well, when you're feeding only protein with no, vitamins and minerals, you're building the scaffolding essentially, but then you're not strengthening it. You're not putting any cement on the lath, so to speak. And so what's happening is they start off, they've got decent bases coming up, look like they got good mass and height. And then all of a sudden what you find out is, if you notice in your deer, if you notice that some of them are still hanging on to velvet into season, it's because they had plenty of protein but not enough mineral, and their body was literally not done mineralizing that antler, and it had to shut it off, because it's either pull it from our skeleton more, endanger the body, or shut the antlers off. And so it shuts the antlers off. And so, you can tell by the weight of the antlers, the way they feel chalky. Sometimes they feel almost spongy on the tips of the tines. I got one in this year that was just crazy. It's only a 2.5-year-old buck. I've never seen this with a young deer. But this gentleman feeds only protein. That's it. And nice 2.5-year-old deer. And it was just, the antlers were almost chalky feeling. They didn't have that hard tone to them. And so this is something, you know, I see in the taxidermy shop that comes through that I can almost take a guess at what they're feeding. Like in some ways, it'd almost be better off, you know, feeding nothing at all rather than just loading them up on protein. But
Right.
Well, what Jason kind of hit on with our ruminant probiotics and prebiotics, you know, a lot of people say, well, my deer get enough things naturally. They do, but when they get this in their gut and they go out there and feed on some alfalfa, or they go feed on the food plot, or they go pick up some corn that's left after the combine, that actually helps that break down as well. You know, as long as they're going back and forth between the product and foraging, coming back to the product. So, but anyway, so that's another thing on that, on the additive that we put in, that it helps them take in natural minerals too. So.
Very good. Where can we find Rackology, guys?
Right there.
We got some wise guys here.
Yeah.
well,
The easiest place, and one thing I was going to tell you is Jason and I, we know we both have families. We both have, other jobs. You know, I do a full-time agronomy. He's a full-time teacher and taxidermist. But anytime people want to give us a call, and if they've legitimately got some issues they're trying to work on, or we're more than happy to field their phone calls. But the easiest way to find those numbers and stuff is getting on our web page, which is rackology.org. And they can get on there. Jason and I's numbers on there. Our emails are on there. Our email is rackologyllc@gmail.com. They can get on there and get a hold of us anytime.
we're on
Gotcha.
Instagram,
Yep.
Facebook, and Twitter.
Yep.
So,
Real quick, guys, I want to show everybody how you can go and listen to the entire show that we did on the podcast. So I'm going to share my screen here, and hopefully it'll log it in. I don't know if you guys can see that on your side. But this is our page. What's that?
Yep, there it is.
there now.
It is. All right. So there's me and Dusty. That was our little photo op we did when we were deer hunting down in Ohio. But this is the page. You can go to bigbuckregistry.com/podcasts. And this is one of the places where you can get it. And you can see all of our shows right here. Wayne Bolton, Matt Light, Dan Infault, Laura Zira. And there you guys are right there. Episode number 188. So you can press play and start listening to that show. And look over here, guys, on the side. We are live right there. I don't know
What a
where
heck
we
of a
went.
lineup you got there.
You bet. Tough act to follow here.
Yeah, I know.
And then you can find us on Facebook and Twitter, and you can email us here, the RSS feed, iTunes. Go to iTunes, and if you want to listen to the show, if you're an Apple user, that's where you want to click right there, or on TuneIn, Stitcher, and Google Play. So again, bigbuckregistry.com/podcast. You can listen to the entire show that we did with Rackology and Jason and Eric, and we go a little deeper than we did tonight, but I got to tell you, we covered some pretty intense subjects tonight, and we may have to follow up again depending upon how much how many other questions we actually get. So
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm going to just check the feed real quick before we wrap this up, just to see if there are any other questions. And please, if anybody has any questions right now, now's the time to ask. We'll just give you a couple more minutes there.
Shout out to Jimmy Davis. He said, "What's up, guys?" So shout out to Jimmy. What's the conditions like where you guys are at, as far as anybody putting anything in the dirt out your way?
Nope, not really. We've got probably 10 days worth of overcast and rain, which was well received because we needed the moisture here. But it's just been overcast almost every day for the last week. But yep, guys got a little bit of oats and alfalfa planted before this hit. But I imagine when this dries up, it's going to be crazy. Guys are going to be really rocking and rolling.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Good deal. Dusty, do you see any other questions on the feed? I don't see any more.
No, I see some people join in. Jeremy Neely, thanks for joining us. No, I think the guys covered it pretty well. And, if we do have questions, we can always reach out to Eric and Jason and get them answered.
Right.
This
If we get enough
Rackology,
questions.
if anybody asks, it is safe to eat. No, that's fine. Most times, if you do that with any other feed, all you're going to taste is salt. So, no, that's one thing we never talked about, the aroma. as well as what's in it. The aroma is just, when you have a bag of that in your truck and you're driving down the road, you get out, you come back in, that aroma just about it's a,
What's
and
it
I can
smell
understand
like?
why deer.
Can you describe it? Could describe what it smells like?
Well,
what it tastes
if you
like.
take
Look
a
at
fresh cut alfalfa field, mix it with a little bit of corn silage that's fermenting, that's what it smells like. And it's
My
just
mouth's
got a
watering.
good flavor to it. And it's not too overpowering. And like I said, it's, a lot of people put a lot of salt in their stuff just for filler to let deer come back, and we keep our salt at a minimum, which is enough for them to still like it. But as you see, it's definitely safe to handle and safe for the deer. So
Good cereal.
And cattle and horses. Yeah. A little bit of milk might have helped a little bit, but if you get cattle into it, horses get into it, it's completely safe.
Gotcha.
You never know. I had cows knock over one of my feeders, and I didn't know the cows were let out, and they knocked it over and ate about half my Rackology. So I told the guy, I said, well, you might have to dehorn those again next year because they might grow them horns back. But yeah, he had cows and horses out there, and they both came in and eat it, but it's perfectly safe for them.
I'm pretty sure we've seen you eat a piece of that. Can you bring that screen back up to you on the live feed and take another bite of that? We want to see that. Start talking.
This stuff. Can I let Jason do it this time?
Yeah, Jason, it's your turn.
There you go.
See it.
Hold it up real close. Bring it up closer to the screen so we can see it.
There. Looks like
Looks
kind of like a little mouse turd.
It doesn't taste like a mouse turd, though. It tastes good.
Yep.
Other people are probably going, that's kind of gross.
Yeah,
people always do that when we were out in the field. I'd shuck some corn and throw some corn in my mouth while I was sitting there waiting for somebody, because when you're out there scouting fields in the middle of summer when it's 100 degrees out and haven't been by a convenience store for a while, sometimes that corn kind of looks a little appetizing out there, and so
that's why he's a
I
agronomist.
actually consider about a lot like that. So
very good, guys.
Excellent.
Jay, you got more questions?
I think I'm good, man. I am all Rackology'd out for now. I've gotten my fill. I've listened to the podcast a couple times, and tonight got to go. I'm glad we can replay this. This is actually going to be an added bonus to the podcast, and you go to that website again, you can actually download this entire video. So if you want to check it out.
Jimmy Davis asked, I'm assuming, Jimmy, and maybe clarify this for me, but I'm assuming it's the mineral. How often do you guys put out the Rackology? Time frame in between?
I mean, it depends on, how much you put out. I run 350 pound feeders. Some of the bigger guys run 600 and some pound feeders. And, it just, to tell you the truth, it depends on what your deer need. We've got guys that obviously there must be some fairly decent nutrition in their area. And it may take them a few months to go through that 300 and some pounds. We've got one guy that's, he went through over 1,200 pounds in a month and a half. A month and a half. He went through 1,200 pounds of this stuff. Now, granted, he's got 40, 50 deer coming in.
A lot of it's not ratios, but the overall deer population.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have a high deer population, obviously they're going to eat more of it. But if you're talking just one deer, and how much are they going to eat of it? It's up to what you have around there. So if they're eating a lot of it, that tells you that the nutrition value that's around them is not that high, because the vitamins and minerals in this stuff act as a limiting factor. And so people that have started using our stuff that were afraid, well, they're going to eat us out of house and home. They were eating them out of house and home when they were just feeding them protein, because deer will eat as much as they can of that. But when they're getting all the vitamins and minerals, all the nutrients and everything with that protein, it's kind of like when you eat enough of something and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm full with that. You'll see the deer at the feeder on time lapse. They might be there for 2-3 minutes, and you can just tell they sense that they had enough. and they walk away and another one comes up. And then there's other times of the year where, I've had deer stand on the pile when I was putting it on the ground for maybe 2 hours, just nibbling here and there and going back and forth. So,
Gotcha. Get into a little bit. Jimmy did respond. He was talking about the mineral. How often are you putting out a mineral site? How often are you refreshing it?
Okay, so it's good to put out about 10 pounds, give or take, in a mineral site. And I'd probably, if you put it out in the spring, I'd probably go out and refreshen it, midsummer to late summer, early fall. And then just watch your mineral site. If they're really hammering it hard, you might want to refreshen it in between there. Again, it's just going to depend on the amount of nutrients in your area. Some states, some areas have got natural mineral in the ground that deer will hit, but the mineral is not something that they're going to eat you out of house and home. They're going to go to it when they need it. And so, spring, hit it, and in the fall, and depending on how hard they're hit in the fall, you might want to freshen it back up, going into winter. Mm-hmm. You can do it a number of different ways, because we've been asked this too. Do you kind of rough till up the ground there and you add it into and mix it in with the dirt and then add water like some other products do. And you can do that. But then your deer they're eating dirt also. And when they eat dirt, the danger that can arise from eating dirt is there's some potentially harmful microbes, worm type parasites that can be in the dirt that I'd recommend either putting it in some sort of a tub or putting it on the surface of the ground. And one thing you'll notice is when them deer start digging, it's time to put out more. But I know that's a lot of people's fears. Are they going to eat us out of house and home? And if depending on your size of ground, I'd have 1 or 2 mineral sites per food plot area, or per let's say 60, 80 acres. And, just watch it periodically. 3 times a year, I'd think would be good, if not 2, depending on how hard they're hitting it.
And letting the deer kind of tell you what's going on. And I've always liked just clearing out a spot, maybe doing a small depression, getting the dirt out of there, pouring it in there, let the rainfall do the water work for you. When those deer come there and start pawing it a lot, it'll tell you how many deer you have there if you don't have a game camera up, and how fast they go through it. So yeah, but I agree, 2 to 3 times is all I do. 3 at the max if I got a lot of deer in that area, but probably 2 times a year, 10 pounds.
Perfect. I think I answered the question.
Very good. Well, guys, I think that's about all we have time for tonight, but we'll monitor other questions as they roll in, and we may have to set up another session with you guys if that's cool.
Yeah, hopefully next time we'll have our new bags and our smaller bags and our food plot bags all ready to go for you guys.
Right.
Kind of cool.
A few other cool announcements.
Yeah, some other
that
things
we're working on.
So. All right. Very good. Just real quick, you can listen to the entire podcast once again at bigbuckregistry.com/podcasts, or on bigbuckregistry.com/Rackology. So, well, actually, guys, thanks for joining us. I'm going to turn off the broadcast, but thank you everybody for listening and watching. And I always say listening because we're always an audio show. We're doing some more of this video, so stay tuned for more of this video stuff. We're going to ask some of our old guests on the podcast to come back and do some video with us. So looking forward to more video and more information from everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.